Okay guys, now let me show you how to clear floor 35, which is definitely one very annoying stage because the enemy can do AoE stuns and that can seriously interrupt the way you plan your attack. This is very annoying because he doesn't just do this once, he actually do this 3 times in the battle. He do this both on turn 1, turn 2 and also on turn 4. So there's a lot of opportunities where the enemy could interrupt your strategy. So that's kind of why you probably be risking resetting this stage a lot in order to actually get a lucky run. Now, the strategy I'm going to show you guys is going to try to make it as less RNG dependent as possible because I am able to bypass a lot of the stunning, preventing a lot of the stun from this enemy using the strategy I'm going to show you. But still, be prepared that you will be retrying this battle quite a few times before you're actually able to get it to work. Okay, on top of that, his ultimate attack is also very annoying. It was almost able to one-shot my SR Momo from full HP. So also be prepared to come up with a way to bypass his massive ultimate attack. I will show you once again in my strategy. But if you also happen to have a reflection which is mutual trust, which does AoE damage reduction, do equip it on one of your characters because it will help you out by quite a bit. Okay, but if you don't have those regression, don't worry. As usual, I'll be showing you guys my free-to-play guide, which is basically just gonna be Gojo plus full SR character. Regression-wise, it's all the ones everyone have access to as well. Those two are from Formidable Foes. This one's from 15-minute download event, and those two are SR regression. So everyone should have access to all of this. Okay, now skill requirement is quite high. I needed my Blue Gojo to be both level 10 in terms of his ultimate attack and also his buffing skill. And on top of that, I actually needed to crit when I use his ultimate attack as well. So that once again, that's another RNG point, which is kind of why this stage can get a bit RNG heavy. But yeah, be prepared to level up your skills very high in order to actually clear this stage smoothly, especially because of so much RNG going on. You don't really want to keep on retrying the stage, only to then find out your damage output is not quite high enough. So I would kind of recommend you get them to as close to level 10 as possible, especially if your Gojo is only one duped, like me. I don't even think it's possible to beat the stage with a 0 dupe Gojo, by the way. But you know, if it's at least one dupe, you would kind of need them to be both at level 10. If it's 2 dupe or higher, you can probably get away with only level 9 on those two skills. Okay. In terms of the other skills you will be using, it's basically just a buffing skill from your 3 buffers. On Kaito, you will only be using his skill 3, but that works at any level, so you don't actually need to worry about the requirement on Kaito. Okay, so how does this strategy actually work? Oh, also, sorry, one more requirement which is very important for Momo is that Momo's HP need to be ridiculously high in order to actually tank the enemy's ultimate attack. Basically, you need something like around 15k mark. I had to seriously level up the recollection on my Momo all the way to level 70 in order to reach that HP threshold. And that is partially because my Momo is only 2 dupe. So if you do have Momo max dupe, then your regression probably doesn't need to be so high. But yeah, ideally you kind of want this HP number to be around the 15k mark in order for Momo to be actually able to tank the enemy's ultimate attack. The alternative could also be if you want to put on regression, which can actually have resurrection effect. For example, this one, Sukuna's Vessel, is able to provide resurrection for 1 turn. So you can do this in order to make sure Momo survive. But you are obviously would be losing out from the buffing ability from the other regression you can equip on instead. So if your Gojo is highly duped, you can try this strategy instead. But if your Gojo is only one dupe, similar to me, then I would actually suggest just level up your regression on Momo to be very high so that her HP is around the 15k mark. Okay, so that's basically the setup you want. Now, in terms of strategy, like I said, the enemy is gonna be trying to do an AoE stun to you on both turn 1, turn 2, and also turn 4, which makes it very RNG heavy. So the strategy I'm going to show you guys is going to be trying to reduce those the implication of those stuns as much as possible. And the guy you're going to use for this is going to be Kaito. And the reason why is that when Kaito uses his skill 3, he applied attack nullification to your allies for 2 times. So basically, you will see in my gameplay is that I will be applying this to both Yaga and Nanami. So in this way, on turn 4, enemy's attack would never be able to actually hit both of my buffers, and as a result, they would be free from any potential RNG stuns, etc. And also, because it actually lasts for 2 times over 3 turns, I am also able to use this to bypass against surviving enemies' ultimate attack as well. And that's kind of why I was able to beat the stage without using any of the SSR reflection for healing or for damage reduction as well. So that's basically going to be the key. Now, in terms of the actual stuns the enemy will be doing, so basically on turn 1, enemy will be doing an attack which can potentially AoE stun. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter whether any of those stun hits because I don't actually need any of this character to do anything on the second turn. They will just be doing their normal attacks on second turn anyway. So even if all 3 of them are stunned, doesn't make any difference. On turn 2, the enemy will be trying to do an AoE stun to you guys again. And the crucial point is that Kaito cannot be stunned because Kaito basically need to apply his skill 3 to both Yaga and also Nanami on turn 3 and also on turn 4. So as a result, Kaito cannot be stunned by the enemy's second attack because he needs to be able to use his skill on turn 3. So that is pretty much like the only hard requirement for this strategy to work. So that's kind of why I was able to reduce a lot of the RNG checkpoint as much as possible. Now, ideal scenario, you don't really want your Yaga and Nanami to be stunned on by enemy second attack either because from turn 3 they should be start buffing. Depending on the amount of damage you need, for example, how high the dupe is your Gojo, that may or may not be a deal breaker for you guys. For me, because my Gojo is only 1 dupe, that was a bit of a deal breaker, so I kind of needed at least one of them to be able to be not stunned. If your Gojo is 0 dupe, to be honest, if your Gojo is 0 dupe, I don't even recommend you guys trying. But yeah, so basically, you just need to be somewhat lucky that at least one of Nanami and Yaga is not stunned by the enemy second attack either, and ideally both of them are not stunned. So that's basically the way around. And turn 3, basically what the enemy is going to do is the enemy will be doing a single target attack, which is always going to be target your teammate with the lowest HP. And vast majority of the time, it's going to be your Kaito. And you don't want that to happen. And that's kind of why instead what I'm going to have is I'm going to have this reflection, which, by the way, you need to activate on turn 1 just in case your Yaga actually gets stunned on both turn 2 and turn 3, so can't actually activate the reflection. You want to activate this on turn 1. And the nice thing about this is that this is a taunt. However, it only works for single target attack. So even though the enemy will be attacking on turn 2 and turn 3, as on turn 1 and turn 2 with an AoE, it wouldn't actually use up your taunt attack either. And the taunt attack is valid for 7 turns, so that's kind of why you're able to ensure on the certain when the enemy use single target attack, it never focus on Kaito and instead it was be hitting on Yaga. And because of the other effect of this reflection, which is that this reflection is also able to provide damage taken decrease for 7 turns for 2 times as well. Yaga is actually going to be capable of tanking the enemy's attack because of that damage reduction. So that's kind of why it's very important you have this reflection on Yaga. And when you have turn 3, so your Kaito is actually able to apply one of his skill 3, you want to make sure you apply it on Nanami rather than Yaga. And the reason is if you apply it on Yaga, then what happens is that the attack nullification is going to be wasted by the enemy single target attack. Whereas instead you want to save it for the RNG attack on the stun attack on turn 4 and also the ultimate attack on turn 5. So that's kind of why on turn 3 your Kaito need to apply the attack nullification skill 3 on Nanami and then on turn 4 apply on Yaga. And once that happens on turn 4 the enemy will be trying to do another AoE stun. However, both Nanami and Yaga would have attack nullification, so there's no RNG element at all. I already eliminated that RNG probability, and then Kaito will be killed off, which is actually perfect because that then allow you to bring on Momo, and this green Momo is gonna be the last puzzle piece in order to ensure your Gojo actually have enough damage output, because Momo would be applying her skill 2 buff for 2 turns. It only lasts for 2 turns as well, which is perfect. And on top of that, Momo actually have an auto skill which applied damage taken debuff on the enemy for 2 turns as well, which is also perfect because Mo will be coming on turn 5, so the debuff and her buff will be valid for turn 5 and turn 6, which is going to be the time when your Gojo nuke after stacking up 2 stacks of pride. And that's basically going to be the strategy you will see me doing in my gameplay later on.